What's up, Wall fans, Common Sense's social media world? Welcome to another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall. This is episode 11, and I am, of course, your favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. We're going to be a little bit all over the place today. Still no webcam. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'm also exhausted. It's been a long few days, really partly because of just my ridiculousness. So we're going to get into that a little bit, but apologies in advance for me just being all over the place. I gotta remember to, there we go. All right. That being said, let's get into it before I fall asleep. All right, Wall fans, Common Sense's podcast consumers, welcome to another very exciting edition of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell It to the Wall, hosted by me, your absolute favorite podcast host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. This is episode 11, the 11th Sunday of doing this, really since the whole pandemic started, and that's just still where we are. And we're going to talk a little bit about COVID and all that good stuff today. And we're also going to talk about why I am freaking exhausted. But before we get into that, we always kick things off with our social plugs. You can keep up with us during episodes, after episodes, before episodes, whenever you so please, and you can do that in multiple locations. One of those would be Facebook. We are currently live on Facebook. Head over to facebook.com/GoTellItToTheWall, like our page. Keep up to date on all new episodes, all kinds of new content coming your way, all that good stuff. And of course, YouTube. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe to our channel. That's where you're going to find all of our videos, for the most part, but that's where our beer reviews are. I'm trying to think. Let me adjust there we go. Beer reviews, parenting playlists, mental health Mondays, all that kind of good stuff, and our weekly rants, which we haven't done in a while, because the weekly rants are kind of part of the original Go Tell It to the Wall episodes. So we haven't been doing a ton of that, but that'll come back around at some point here. You're going to find all that on YouTube, so make sure you just search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe, and get all that great content coming at your eyeballs. And of course, you can follow my own personal Instagram account, which is SoCalSean, SEAN, SOCALSEAN. I spell my name the right way. Here come the hate mail from people that spell their name differently. It's all a joke. Don't get ridiculous with it. But you can follow that one. It's my own personal one. It's not all Go Tell It to the Wall content or Common Sense Sundays content. It's a little bit of everything. A lot of concerts, a lot of kid photos. And then, of course, most importantly, all-encompassing of everything I just mentioned would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. That's right, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Bookmark that one, check back off, and you're also going to find links to everything I just mentioned. And you'll also find a link to our Patreon. Please help us out financially if you have the means to do so and you see fit to do so. And if not, help out some other artists that you enjoy and you're getting content for free from. Wow, say that 10 times fast. There's plenty of artists out there that could use your support, so even if it's not Go Tell It to the Wall, please support struggling artists out there that are creating content for free or at a very good price, depending on Patreon tiers and stuff. Patreon there's a lot of weird stuff with it, but it's also just a great way to connect with artists and broadcasters and musicians and all kinds of good stuff. So definitely check that out. New beer reviews have been posted. I was promising for a couple weeks. Finally got a couple new beer reviews up there. There are more new beer reviews coming, so make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. Check out all those beer reviews. One of the ones that went up this past week was a baseball-themed beer review because we had the pseudo opening day. I mean, I guess it's still opening day, but we had opening day on this very strange baseball season, which we'll talk a little bit about when we get to the entertainment section here. Still no webcams. Oh my gosh, I've hit the point where I'm checking daily just to see if I can catch one, because they pop up and then they're gone. They pop up, then they're gone. They pop up, then they're gone. We'll get one eventually here. It's just the great webcam shortage of 2020. We moved from toilet paper shortages to webcam shortages. It's just strange to me. I know everyone wants a webcam and needs a webcam right now, but you can't get one unless you pay ridiculous amounts of money for them. You know, they make like $800 to $1,000 webcams. And I think these are the kind of webcams that like follow you. It's something weird as I was looking at. So those are available. I'm not buying $1,000 webcam for the studio. I don't know who needs $1,000 webcam. And before we move on to digital trends, I just have to share my sadness. It's not terrible sadness because it is going to happen again, but I was reminded by the Facebook yesterday that yesterday afternoon I should have been on my way to Dodger Stadium pre-pandemic to see the Hella Mega Tour, Green Day, Fall Out Boy, Weezer, most importantly the Interrupters. Yeah, that got moved to next year. So I think I've mentioned this before on Common Sense Sundays. I will have, by the time that actually rolls around next summer, next July, I will have been sitting on tickets for this concert for over a year and a half. Definitely over a year and a half. So sharing my sadness, I guess, but I can't be that upset. It's just a waiting thing. And it's funny, I saw so many people posted on Facebook yesterday, like, I should be at Dodger Stadium next year, I guess. It's like, yep. Thank God for digital tickets. If I had to keep paper tickets around, when I was a teenager going to shows, we had trouble keeping track of tickets. I went on a streak with a friend of mine in high school where we left for different concerts like 5 times in a row and ended up having to turn around each time because it was like, hey, you have the tickets, right? No, I thought you had the tickets. All right, let's go get the tickets before we actually get there and don't have tickets. So thank God for that, digital tickets. That's the only way I'd be able to keep these tickets for a year and a half. If I had paper tickets, my kid would probably start coloring on them and I wouldn't have tickets anymore. She'd somehow get her hands on them. She's actually, it's easy to keep stuff away from her. You just can't leave stuff at, head, hand, height, I guess, especially if it's something that you can totally color on. She's all about the stickers right now. Stickers just getting stuck everywhere. And I've had to explain, like, no, you have like 2 spaces you can put stickers. You can put stickers on your water bottle. Can't really tell her not to put stickers on her water bottle because that's a thing you do. And like every water bottle in this house has stickers on it. And she's got a little place in her room. So I've been working on like, hey, you can't put stickers all over the walls. As much as I am proud of you for stickering everything possible, it's going to start ripping paint off here. There's a little early parenting stuff before we actually get into the parenting section. All right, digital trends. That's right, digital trends. So I just spent a moment complaining, being sad about Hella Mega Tour and not seeing Green Day this weekend and the Interrupters, most importantly. But this weekend was also supposed to be the San Diego Comic-Con down there in San Diego. If you're not familiar with this, you've probably been living under a rock for many, many years. This is like the biggest event that happens in San Diego by far. It is an annual event. It is very difficult to get tickets to, and they have tons of panels. It is called Comic-Con, but I've taken to calling it Pop Culture Con for quite a few years now, because it's not all comic books. It's not all comic book stuff even. They unveil shows and all kinds of stuff. So of course, trending this weekend is hashtag SDCC 2020, San Diego Comic Con 2020. Because it should have been this weekend, but what they did do, and we've seen this from a lot of musicians, and it's a smart thing to do, is they put on a virtual Comic-Con. Now, I'm not a Comic-Con goer, viewer, whatever, it might be, but they did put it on, and I have friends that were out there, so I can't speak to how it was, but of course, it's not the same as going to Comic-Con, but it's at least a little something. I did notice that Kevin Smith, he did a virtual panel, which was pretty cool. I'm a Kevin Smith fan, didn't actually catch it. So at least there was some content out there for everyone to kind of check out this weekend. Now, of course, like I said, it's not as good as actually going to these panels. So as much as I was complaining about not being able to see Hella Mega Tour this weekend, I do feel for people that are going to see Comic-Con. In fact, I said to my wife yesterday, I was like, I think Comic-Con in San Diego is kind of the Burning Man for comic book fans, or like the punk rock bowling or fest for punk rock fans. So it's got to be disappointing. It's it's hard for me to be like, because I enjoy comics. I got some stuff in here, but I don't do the Comic-Con thing near as much. So it's just kind of one of those things. But that is trending, and if you're interested in seeing what happened with the virtual panels, I had a brain fart there for a second. The panels, that's what they do in these big halls down there at the convention center. Then just follow that hashtag, and again, hashtag SDCC 2020, and you're going to be able to get some of that information, see some of those panels. Gone with the Wind is trending, not even this weekend, just today. because unfortunately Olivia de Havilland, if you're not familiar with her, she was one of the actresses in Gone with the Wind, multiple Academy Award winning actress, and actually the last living actor from the film Gone with the Wind. She was 104, so she definitely lived quite the life, but I don't mean to laugh because rest in peace. But it is pretty wild to think of, you have some of these older movies and there's still actors that were in these films that are still around. It's like I talked about last week with Dick Van Dyke. And without spoiling anything from Mary Poppins Returns, it's like, this dude's in his 90s. Like, good lord. And it's just so wild to me. These actors and people of note that have seen such change throughout really any industry, but especially Hollywood, where it's just talking about someone that was in Gone with the Wind and just passed away today. So rest in peace, Olivia de Havilland. Thank you for your great work. I mean, Gone with the Wind, if you haven't seen it, it is a necessary film to watch if you enjoy any kind of film. Just cinema in general, it is a necessary watch. I would say a top 10 movie. Like, I wouldn't call it a top 10 personal movie of mine, but it's just one of those films that if you enjoy cinema, it's something you have to see, you have to have seen. I went to film school, so of course I've seen all these old movies and stuff. That was part of my education. All right, hashtag cover your face. This one is trending, thankfully, on social platforms. That's right, hashtag cover your face. And if you're familiar with Twitter and other platforms that might do this one even comes with a little face mask emoji, like happy face. I can't really tell if it's happy because there's a mask on it. But this one even comes with the little emoji if you type it in and you're searching it. And of course, this is really just a common sense situation, so of course we're going to talk about it on Common Sense Sundays, and I'm happy to see this trending, especially with a lot of stuff that's going on really around the country right now, and even around Southern California, which I'm going to talk about when we get to some COVID updates here. All right, one more trending thing. This one had me laughing, and please, if you've listened to the podcast, you know certain things just I don't ever joke about because they personally affect me in a certain way. So this one does a bit fall into that category, but I laugh a little because I was very confused this morning as I was looking at some trending hashtags. And that would be hashtag KarenFire. That's right, Karen, like the Karens, that name that we use to describe certain women out there that are causing a scene. The hashtag KarenFire. When I first saw this hashtag, I envisioned a bunch of Karens with like flamethrowers, or at least Karens being Karens. But it is, in fact, nothing to do with that. Although, of course, people tweeted because they were also confused in the same way I was. Nothing to do with that. It actually has to do with a fire that is happening in Jurupa, the Jurupa Valley right now, which is in Southern California. It's not close to where I live. It's, I don't even know if we're going to get smoke. It'll depend on the wind patterns. But there's a fire in Jurupa Valley right now, and they've called it the Karen Fire. And whoever's naming fires really had some fun with that one because it's just way too much coincidence, and I guarantee as soon as we get to K on the hurricane naming list, because if you're not aware, they name hurricanes in alphabetical order. Now, you're not always gonna, it's not like you're getting an A, a B, a C, because sometimes we don't even hear about hurricanes, but they still get a name and it's like not affecting anything, so that's why, you may go from A to G to whatever. But they're named alphabetically, and I guarantee they're waiting for it to get to K and hoping that it's a big one so they can do Hurricane Karen. Now, I will say it is a real fire. Luckily, I don't believe there are a lot of structures threatened. But if you've listened to this podcast in the past, you know that I don't take fire lightly. I've been there. It's not fun to lose just about everything. So my heart does go out to anyone dealing with that. But good Lord, hashtag KarenFire, pretty funny. All right, some COVID updates. Let me get a little sip of water here. I'm so exhausted. I'm going to tell you a little bit of why here shortly. All right, LA, Los Angeles, still on the verge of stay-at-home. Lots of parts of California are still on the verge of stay-at-home, which is, it's really wild to me because I look around the world, but even around the country, and it's like the differences and what everyone's doing, and just, some people still insist on not wearing a mask. I stand at my front window and I see this on a daily basis just with people walking around. There are a lot of people with masks. I would say there's probably about 75% of the people walking around do have masks on, but that other 25%, they don't. And this is just where we're at. It's going to keep going. We are going to get hit with this with the stay-at-home order. I see it coming here for Los Angeles County at the very least, and it's going to be madness. And I know other states are kind of in the same boat here when it comes to a lot of stuff. Texas, they have had a serious increase in numbers, and in fact, I know found out from someone I know personally, not going to give out her name. But someone I know personally that they're actually looking for traveling nurses. If you're familiar with nursing, they're looking for nurses to travel from elsewhere into Texas, paying them quite a bit because they do need more assistance down there in Texas. So, in fact, there's my good friend Easy, who is in Texas, but I believe El Paso's been doing a little better than some of the other areas of Texas. Thanks for joining the live feed there, Easy. And it's just we're at a point where we know it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. And in fact, the Orange Menace even tweeted out that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we're seeing that he's finally wearing a frickin' mask, and it's just ridiculous because, only took 140-some thousand people dying for him to use some common sense. But I digress. We're nowhere near the end of it. Nowhere near the end of it. And in fact, you have groups that are... We're not even talking about people just not wearing masks. We're talking about... I still have plenty of time on the ward, Easy, right? Because I checked this morning and I was like, I got to get in the studio. And then I was like, forgot to check again. I think I still got time. Play a little COC. If you're not familiar with COC, check it out. I enjoy that game. I've been playing it for a while. It's like the one game I play. But here we go, getting tangented. And we're not just talking about people not wearing masks. We have groups that are actively, making it worse. And in fact, there is a group in Orange County called Saturate OC. Yeah. It's literally called Saturate OC. They have been holding a gathering at a beach down there in Huntington Beach, which is part of Orange County, with hundreds of people on the beach. Hundreds of people. And they were actually asked by the city of Huntington Beach to not do this because they didn't have the actual permit to hold this event. I thought so. Thank you, Easy. I get in the studio and my brain kind of goes in a different mode. And it's funny because I literally had Easy on the live feed oh yeah, you forgot. It's like months ago. So ever since then, I'm like, oh wait, let me check before I go in. But no permits, no anything. So it's literally breaking the law, holding a huge gathering, and on top of that, nobody wearing masks. We have learned now that the masks make such a big difference. These protests with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, we didn't get these big outbreaks from those protests. Why? Because majority of people wearing masks, and they're outside. This is outside. They're holding it outside at a beach. I get that. Put on the damn masks. And they showed pictures from these events, and everyone's just huddled up together. Meanwhile, I see someone walking down the street, and I go running. And I don't even leave my property. I see someone walking down the sidewalk in front of my house. I literally, and I will be 10 feet from my front gate already. I will take some steps back and be like, you know what? Let me just back up. And we got people out here just congregating. It's amazing to me. Absolutely amazing. That people just don't care. And then they're going to complain. That's the other thing, too. And then we're going to get complaints from the same people that are holding these big events and not wearing masks and everything else and just not caring about anyone else. They're going to be the same people complaining when we get these stay-at-home orders, in the entire state of California or certain counties. It's crazy. It's just, the common sense is very much lacking when it comes to anything regarding COVID right now. I will say, I actually did leave the house yesterday. I did not get out of the car, but my wife and 3-year-old and we went out for a little drive. It was really amusing because my kid made me ride in the back seat with her, so my wife was essentially chauffeuring us around for a little bit of a drive. It was nice. I enjoyed getting out of the house, and I had no desire to get out of the car. And in fact, we drove through part of Pasadena, and it's interesting driving through Pasadena. Even if you're not familiar with it, they have parts of the main roads blocked because of outdoor dining. And I could see, not tons, but there are people out there hitting restaurants for outdoor dining. I drove right by the van store, didn't even want to stop at the van store, and that should tell you right there, if anyone who knows me, I'm finally out of the house for first time in months outside of one other drive I took, and driving right by the van store, and I had no desire to go in simply because I'm not trying to go out into businesses or anything. I'm trying to stay as safe as possible. And like I said, if you know me, I have a Vans obsession. If I'm passing by a van store, I'm walking in that bad boy. I might not be buying something, but I'm going in to check out new stuff, and I have a bit of a Vans obsession. I collect Vans. I like them. I have an obsession. Didn't go in. didn't go in, but did enjoy riding in the car. My 3-year-old enjoyed riding in the car. She's able to get a little more outside time. You know, we have a decent sized property, so she's able to get out and about and run around and stuff, which I am too. And in fact, yesterday I added a new activity to kind of my repertoire. I've been out of shape for years. It's been a long time. I started getting out of shape like right before I got married, and I was so busy. I was working at Universal and just had so much stuff going on. Put on some weight and kind of started taking it back off a little, and then I became a father. And most people that have children, you know, it's tough to get out and exercise. At least young children, tough to get out and exercise. And then when COVID hit, because my daughter and I would usually walk about 2 miles a day. We'd walk a mile to the park, walk a mile home. When COVID hit, we weren't able to go out walking as much. And granted, we've gone walking around the block, but we're not able to go walk to the park and do all these things. Like, so again, I'm missing this physical activity that I get quite a bit of. And filling that with like yard work. I've got a lot of foliage on my property. But yesterday I finally decided, you know what, I have a weight bench, I have some weights, I'm gonna start back up again. And I was never a big weightlifter. I was an endurance athlete. I ran track and cross country in high school, played basketball, played roller hockey. And then I was a triathlete. It's been a couple years since my last triathlon, but I very much enjoy triathlons, racing and triathlons. So I'm not a big weightlifter, but that's something easy to do here because I don't have a treadmill or anything, and I can't run on a treadmill. So I decided I was going to do a little weightlifting. Well, part of the problem was I decided as well to do a bunch of yard work before I went down and lifted weights on my deck in my backyard. So I'm already exhausted. And considering I haven't really lifted weights in years, probably should have taken it a little bit easier. It's hard to move my arms right now. Hard to move my arms, especially my right one, which is funny because as I'm like I'm doing some curls, you know, I'm like, why is my left arm, because I'm right-handed, why is my left arm going easier than my right arm? And I realized, like, oh, because I was out here with a leaf blower and a broom and a rake and everything, and I'm using my right hand doing a lot of this stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, no, that's why. I'm a bit worn out, and of course it was like 80-some degrees here in Los Angeles, so I'm a bit useless today. And then on top of that, I have not been sleeping well, so I'm a bit shocked that I'm still functioning in the studio. I'm probably going to finish up in here, go eat something, and then just once I get everything up, just completely pass out. That's probably in my future this afternoon. Is like, blip, I'm done. Need to catch up on some rest here. But I do recommend it. It's, just in general, physical activity is good for you, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's getting on a treadmill, stationary, but whatever it might be. Make sure you're paying attention to that, especially right now when you can't get out into the world, into nature as much. And it also depends where you live. I live in Los Angeles. I'm in the freaking city. I'm in a very, very urban area. So it's like I have a big property, but once I go out my back driveway here, there's a big main road, So I think it's a little easier for people that have, big forests behind them or something, or a little more land. But for me, if you're in an urban area, and I'm using urban in the correct way, it's hard because there's just, your neighbors are right here. You don't have a big open space to go out and walk and run and do whatever. So it's this constant avoidance. So finding ways to fill that void, is the way to go. Hi, Paul. I see you sneaking in there. Paul Smith of Zombie Teeth Clothing. Zombie Teeth Clothing and Zombie Teeth Podcast. Hope you all checked that out after my recommendation last week. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, at least physically, at least a little bit physically, when it comes to this quarantine and this pandemic and everything else. And I've been bad about it, which is funny because I've lost weight, but I'm also getting in worse shape. And I think the reason I'm losing weight is I don't go out to eat a ton, but I do go out to eat a bit, and even going to like shows, I burn a lot of calories jumping around in a pit, but I also have a couple beers, and I tend to. My sister Laura and I we'll finish a show, and if it's not too late, we're like, hey, where's the nearest In-N-Out? Let's get a double. Time for a double. So I've actually lost weight, but I'm getting out of shape. Yeah, do you not have a lot of space around your house, Paul? Yeah, you don't even have a garden. Yeah. See, that's the thing. It all depends. And I think EZ has a little more space around his house, and especially EZ's got kids. It's much easier when you can just kind of open it up, be like, all right, here you can run around and know that you're not going to run into neighbors. And I'm not saying this is like, what was that show, The Walking Dead, where you got to avoid everyone like crazy, but you really need to avoid contact right now. Yes, and that's the thing too is I've my beer intake has not really gone down. It's my junkier food intake has gone down. And it's the same thing for my wife. We've just been eating better at home. A whole bowl full of meatballs. Well, here's the thing, and I've come to discover I do enjoy fast food. Like I said, I like In-N-Out. I can take down a Jumbo Jack now and then, but it's just not. I'm still eating amounts of food here at home. It's just I think when you cook at home, it's a little bit better for you. And I completely tangented here. I highly, if you don't have one, if you're out there and you're listening, I highly recommend an air fryer. I have an obsession with French fries and hash browns. I love them, and plenty of other things too. But I love French fries. It's never going to leave in my diet. As I get older, if doctor's going to be like, no French fries, and be like, you can take out 5 other things, but don't take out the French fries. So an air fryer is a much healthier way to enjoy some French fries. Like, trust me on this. It seems silly. And if you're someone that had air fried French fries like 20 years ago when it kind of first came out, it's so much better now. Get yourself an air fryer. You're going to save some calories and some fat on a lot of stuff there. Oh, man. I'm in one of those modes where I'm a little exhausted and I think I'm just kind of running on yelling at a wall here. All right, let's move on to some parenting. Oh, it is still the challenge. You know what? No, we're going to save this. I'm going to save this because it's not relevant timing-wise. So we're going to save parenting for next episode because we are running short on time. Like I said, I'm exhausted. But I will say, regarding mental health, it's funny. I take minimal notes. Oh, that's good. I need to check that out. EZ is recommending My Fitness Pal. See, that's where my blood pressure. See, that's the thing too. Is you can lose weight, but you can still have a high blood pressure and everything else, and that's kind of the thing to keep up on. So check out My Fitness Pal if that's one of something you're interested in, or be like Paul and just eat a big bowl of meatballs. Which now I'm kind of hungry. Now I might go eat a big bowl of meatballs for my lunch. I think I got meatballs in the freezer here. Anyway, I do minimal notes for all these episodes. It's just kind of the way I run. I used to be a public speaker when I was a teenager. I did a lot of public speaking. I learned, like, after a few speaking engagements, that I could not have, like, intricate notes. It's just something I have to kind of speak from the heart. And as cheesy as it is here with me yelling at a wall and everything else, everything I say comes from the heart. And it's just me. It's where I am and how I feel regarding, relevant things. And as I was putting together my minimal notes for today, I realized I just completely skipped over mental health, the mental health section this week. I hate doing this, but I realized I think I did this a little subconsciously. I'll be honest with everyone. I've been having a rough go of it mentally the past few days. It's been rough. I haven't been sleeping well. And this is actually part of the motivation why I went and lifted some weights finally yesterday. I just needed some additional physical activity. I needed it. And I will say, I've talked about this previously, being an extroverted introvert and how that's starting to affect lots of people. But know that this is just an ever-evolving thing right now for anybody that deals with mental illness or mental health problems. And even if you've never had a mental health problem, we are in interesting times right now. So know that even if you're down and you start to feel a little bit better and then come back down again, don't let that continue to push you down. Mental health is a bit of a roller coaster on a good day. Let alone when we're in this pandemic and so much uncertainty and everything else going on. And I mean, the news is just, it's crazy. And I'm not just talking COVID news. I'm talking, there's all these, you see what's going on in Portland right now, what's possibly going to be happening in other cities. We still have protests happening. I mean, these are all things that can really beat you down mentally. And for me, it's just, I just go up and down, and I've been a bit down the past few days, and I can't tell you why. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it, and anyone out there that deals with these things, you know that. There's not always a rhyme or reason to it. So the most important thing, and I will say, because I didn't have much to talk about this week, is just be kind to yourself. That's all you can do. Know that you're going to feel up, you're going to feel down on a normal day, let alone right now. So just know that. Especially your triggers. Watch your triggers, and I'm using the word trigger in the correct way, not this whole trigger the libs, and I still get offended by that. All right, we're going to move on because I think I'm running a little short on time here. All right, we got some entertainment news. Want to give recommendation of the week. I mentioned last week when we talked about Zombie Teeth Podcast and Zombie Teeth Clothing and Paul Smith, the great Paul Smith. We're going to do these recommendations of the week. And I always recommend like big things, I checked out this new show or this new movie, But these are kind of stuff that you're not going to see commercials for and stuff. And my personal favorites, a lot of them are going to be people I know personally, like Paul. So for this week, I want to shout out to Cinema Craptaculous. Cinema Craptaculous Podcast. Yes, you're hearing that right. Craptaculous. Cinema Craptaculous. You're going to find them on pretty much, I believe they're on most podcast platforms. I know they are on Apple Podcasts and Google Play, because that's where I subscribe to them. So check them out, and it is basically what you would think it is. It's a podcast dedicated to all things cinema, movie related. Some of it will be specific to a movie they're going to talk about. Some of it is more specific to news revolving around movies or entertainment. It's part movies and entertainment. Most recently, one of the more recent ones was talking about how fans can make their voices heard and bring things back along the lines of Veronica Mars, if you're familiar with Veronica Mars. So highly recommend Cinema Craptaculous if you're a movie fan, which most people are. Like, who doesn't like movies? At least some kind of movies. Check them out. And that is part of that team is a good personal friend of mine, John Ford, who is also a fan of the podcast. And this is also great, especially right now with COVID going on. If you're looking for like movie recommendations and stuff, right there, Cinema Craptaculous, because everyone's stuck at home for the most part. So even if your area has started to open up a little more, you're still not out and about as much as you would be. So this is a great place to get film recommendations among other entertainment recommendations, I guess you could say. So check them out, Cinema Craptaculous. You're going to find it on all your favorite podcast platforms. On YouTube as well, I believe. You can follow them on all the social platforms to keep up to date as well. I'm not going to sit here and list all those out. All right, it's funny. I completely messed up putting this in last week, and it seems silly, but to me, one of the things I love most about this podcast that we have been doing now, going on almost 4 years, it's going to be 4 years in September, is there certain things that I've talked about either from the beginning or have talked about for a couple years. And I always really enjoy, especially when it's something from the beginning that I've talked about and been passionate about, when that comes full circle. We've had that a few times. I can't think of which ones off top of my head, but we've had that a few times. But about 2 weeks ago, I just forgot to mention it last week's episode, something came full circle that I've literally talked about since the very, very, very beginning of Go Tell It to the Wall. And that would be the Washington football team, the NFL football team here in the United States. I've talked about their racially insensitive name since the beginning of the podcast. And I had mentioned, I believe, quick mention, that they were finally looking at changing the name. Well, we have official confirmation that the name is being changed. I don't say the nickname on the podcast, but if you're familiar with the NFL, the Washington football team, you know what the name is. If not, you can go look it up. You'll still be able to find it. It is very, very, very offensive. Longest time, the team owner refused to change it. Finally, we're officially getting a change on it. We don't have the official new team name yet, but I deserve some credit here. I deserve some credit because this is what I've been calling them this since the beginning, since before I started doing the podcast, but I've been putting it out into the universe publicly on a podcast for almost 4 years, and that would be the Washington football team. That is how they're going to be referred to this coming football season, as the Washington football team. You're welcome, Daniel Snyder, because that's how I've been referring to your team the past almost 4 years, well, more than that, but on Go Tell Us the Wall for almost 4 years now. Really, this one's just for me. I love how things come full circle, and I love to see the change that we are currently seeing with so many different things in this, really around the world, but especially in this country. And the Cleveland baseball team, I think, is on the verge of also changing their very offensive team name. Baseball is back. That's right. If you're a baseball fan, I'm a baseball fan. It's funny. I've been like I move a little further away from sports just kind of every year. I have so many other things going on. But there's something I love about just turning on a baseball game in the evening, these summer evenings, and having a nice tasty beer and, maybe some pistachios or something. And like I put a pizza in the oven the other night when watching the Dodgers. Baseball's back, and I gotta say, I'm happy to see it. I will also say, even if you're not a baseball fan, turn on a baseball game for a few minutes and check out the cutouts that they are using at a lot of stadiums. Fans, I know in Los Angeles for Dodger Stadium, fans were able to buy a seat for their cutout, and it's actually their picture there. In Oakland, they have a bunch of cutouts, and actually, fun little piece of trivia for you. One of the cutouts in Oakland is actually Tom Hanks' head on the body of a hot dog sales person, hot dog vendor. Sometimes words escape me. A hot dog vendor. And they actually have his voice saying selling hot dogs. If you've ever been to a ballpark and it's hot dogs, get your hot dogs here, and it's Tom Hanks. Apparently, Tom Hanks actually sold hot dogs for the Oakland Athletics back when he was a teenager. Pretty cool little piece of information there. And now, if you go to, well, you can't go to the games. They don't have any fans at the games. But if you watch a game on television, you might catch Tom Hanks' voice in the background selling hot dogs. Pretty cool. I think that's cool. And then on top of that, I was waiting for this to happen, and sure enough, it happened like 3 games into the season. These cardboard cutouts. When I saw these, I was like, so are they? If someone hits a home run or a foul ball, and it goes out of the park and hits one of these cardboard cutouts, does that person get to keep the ball? It actually happened last night here in Los Angeles, or yesterday, I think it was a day game. Home run from Will Smith, not the actor, the baseball player Will Smith, hit a cutout. And sure enough, the guy who had paid $300 to have his cutout in the in the outfield there was like, hey, can I get that ball? And apparently the Dodgers haven't promised the baseballs that hit cutouts to those fans, but it sounds like Will Smith actually is getting them the baseball. However, in Oakland, they've already said it. If a baseball goes foul or it's a home run and hits your cutout, they're going to send you the baseball, which is pretty cool. That is pretty cool because you can't go to the park. Personally, if I had a cutout there, I wouldn't want the ball because I've never caught one. Although if I had caught one previously in person and then one hit my cutout, I'd be like, yeah, no, send me that one. It's just I'm like a child at base, and I'm not like pushing people over, but I am watching for a foul ball. At just one day, I want to catch one. Ever since I was a kid, never actually caught one. Oh, all right. One more piece of baseball information. This was funny. This could have gone in like trending on digital. Yesterday, I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I see there's a photo of a pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. And it's actually memed up with like when he got a baseball game at 7 and a Blink-182 concert at 9. And it was a photo of a pitcher for the Reds, and he had Vans high tops that were cleats. I saw it a couple times. I was like, that's really funny, and I thought someone photoshopped it. This morning, I'm scrolling through the news feeds, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. The dude, this pitcher for the Reds, actually had custom Vans cleats made. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, remember I topped the episode when I was talking about my Vans obsession there? I was like, I don't play baseball. I kind of need those. I kind of need them. I don't play baseball. But that was really freaking cool. I love the custom Vans cleats. I hope more guys wear them because they just look cool. And if you're a Vans, like if I was a baseball player being a Vans fan, I would be like, yes, please, can I get these? Especially if he's getting an endorsement deal with Vans, which is pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save both of these things. I will say 2 things that I want to make sure we get into this episode because they are very important. One's been mentioned a couple times, and the other one has yet to be mentioned on this podcast. We're in the final countdown for Muppets on Disney+. That's right, the final countdown. By the time you hear my voice again on this podcast... Wait, let me look at the date. Yes, by the time you hear my voice again on this podcast, we will have all been able to see the new Muppets series on Disney+. Mark your calendars, July 31st. If you have Disney Plus, if you don't have Disney Plus and you are a Muppets fan or a Henson fan, get on it. Get on it. I might have paid. I mean, I have a 3-year-old at home, so like it was well worth it for me to get Disney Plus, especially with the paying 3 years in advance thing. But I even as an adult without kids, I might have been getting Disney Plus just for the Muppets thing. I have a problem. Vans, Muppets, and bands that I love. Like, those are the things that I do. And not just Muppets, anything Henson. Like I should say, Muppets being the broad spectrum of Henson. All right, and before we close out, another mark your calendar situation, which I'll probably mention a couple of times, and I know Paul already has his calendar marked. August 1st, so in about a week, August 1st, the Slackers, Barstool Preachers, the Pie Tasters, and I believe a couple of other bands and a DJ are putting on a full live stream, full sets, full everything. They are doing it, so there's actually an event on Facebook. I believe it is running on Facebook. Paul might correct me here because I know that he knows more about it. I click the event and I'm like, I'll figure it out later. But mark your calendars for this coming weekend. Catch the Slackers, great band. Barstool Preachers, my absolute favorite band, which you know because you listen to this podcast. And among others, check it out. It is actually a ticketed event. It's going to cost you $10. But I promise you, even if you're not familiar with these bands, but you are a punk rock, ska fan, it's well worth the money. $10 for full sets. And you know, you put it on your TV in your living room. And yeah, I thought so. You put it on your TV in your living room, have a little mosh pit in your living room. Just don't knock over lamps and such. You know, but I will be watching that live stream for sure. And if you're someone that listens to this and you're part of our Barstool Preachers fan group on Facebook, then it's going to be in your face. Reminders over the next week, and then whatever else can be shared from that. And if you're not part of that and you're a Barstool Preachers fan, just look it up on Facebook. It is the easiest thing to find, especially if you're a friend of mine on Facebook. It'll come up right away because I admin that group along with Laura. All right. I'm exhausted. We went over time. I thought we'd be actually like a little short on time this week because I am so exhausted. Probably what I'm going to go do is eat some lunch and maybe, like, I feel like it's age too. I feel like I need a little ice bath here. Like, or gosh, times like this I really wish I had a hot tub in my backyard. I wouldn't get a lot of use out of a hot tub, but this is one of those times where I'm like, my back and my arms and my legs are just sore. I could use it. But the rest of my day is once I get all this done, the rest of my day is going to involve a little bit of rest, I think. That's what I got to do. Take advantage of my 3-year-old napping right now as well. All right, that is going to do it for episode 11 of Common Sense Sundays with Go Tell Us the Wall. Make sure you are subscribed on your favorite podcast platform, whatever that may be. You can also follow us on multiple social platforms, facebook.com/Go Tell It to the Wall. You can follow me on personal Instagram, which is SoCalSean, and of course YouTube. Head over to YouTube, search Go Tell Us to the Wall, and check out all our content there. Most importantly, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. All right, Wall fans, Common Sensors podcast consumers, we will be back next week. Same wall place, same wall time. Until then, remember, no matter what you do, no matter who you're with, no matter where you go, no matter why you are doing it, always use common sense. That was like the old school. That's how I used to do the common sense back in the early days. I'd be very overly dramatic with it. But then everyone I know that listens to the podcast kept coming up to me and be like, common sense. And I was like, all right, we're going to simplify that. Because I was always like, what? Oh, yeah, no, I'd say that, don't I? Bridget loves to give me the ending look, too, if we're on a video call. She'll be like, and I'll be like, I see what you're doing, Bridget. I'm exhausted. I don't know how we got through that. Just tired. Thank you, as always, everyone, for joining, especially you, Paul. I love when you're on here, Paul, of Zombie Teeth Clothing, and Easy. I've been missing you, Easy, and I know the reason I'm missing Easy is because he's very busy on Sundays. It's a lot tougher for him to join a live feed on Sundays. So thank you, Easy, for joining, as always. Like I said, we'll be back next week, same wall place, same wall time. Maybe with a webcam, maybe not. Who knows? I don't know if we'll actually have a webcam. Webcam shortage. If anybody has the hookup on a webcam, especially in Southern California, please let me know. A good webcam. Like, there's ones, I need a streaming webcam. Please let me know. I'm trying to get the damn thing. Absolutely. Love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully. Thank you to everybody. Next week, hopefully? No, we'll see you next week. Paul, I'll be seeing you on the Barstool Preachers live stream. I know it. I know you're going to be on there. But I will be seeing everyone next week, and now I'm just talking nonsense. So on that note, I will say, if you've got any complaints whatsoever, especially today where I was just like, go tell them to a wall.